Not every home has a basement, but every home's got a roof. I realized very quick that I was really good at swinging a hammer, and I knew absolutely nothing about the inside of a functioning business. I need good freaking people to help me scale this business. The only way I see is to just keep your foot on the gas, man. If you're not there, you're definitely not going to get the roof.
So the latest thing that we've been working on is maximizing our LSAs, which is local service ads, and also optimizing our Google My Business profiles. So what that means is we're making sure that all of our LSAs are on when we need them and they're maximized to give us the best ROI. And then for GMBs, it's been partnering with service scalers to drive way more traffic through our GMBs. GMBs are almost like the new SEO. The more you put onto them, the better the performance. So our GMBs have been consistently getting better week after week after week. And it is currently our single most impactful organic lead channel. So we'll sell hundreds of thousands of dollars a week through our GMBs. And I think last week we got 900 phone calls. So really impactful, awesome investment. And we've been able to partner with service scalers on both of those things. If you want to hear a little bit more about service scalers, check out servicescalers.com. Welcome back to Owned and Operated. I beat Jack before he could even say it. So suck, bro. Today on the show, we have Eddie Griffin from Brown Roofing. Welcome to the show.
How you doing? Thank you for having me.
This is going to be fun. We're interested in roofing. This comes at a good time. Roofing is getting a lot of really interesting attention. And I have, for some reason or another, I have a lot more roofing friends now than I did 6 months ago. So I don't know. I don't know if it's the sign of the times or what, but I'm excited to hear your story.
Absolutely.
So you're the owner and president of Brown Roofing in Connecticut. And you've been in the industry for a while. I'd love to hear about how you started in roofing and all the way up until you bought your current company in 2012.
All right. Very good. So I actually started in the roofing industry at the young age of 13 years old on my summer vacations from Gary Brown. I actually, the company that I own today was my first job.
That's cool. So cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, literally work from the ground, to the top. So I started at 13 on my summer vacations. When I got out of school, I was just looking for a job. So I hopped back in, and I never left. I liked working for Gary. I liked working with the guys. In 2012, Gary Brown. He got sick. He had cancer. Yeah. He had kids himself, but he reached out to me and said, Eddie, you worked for me your whole entire life. I'm going to sell the company, but I'd like to sell it to you. At that time I didn't have much money. I was able to move a few things around and I purchased Brown Roofing in 2012. At this time, we were maybe doing, $500,000-$600,000 in business. We were not a big company by any means. And, I took the company over and I realized very quick that I was really good at swinging a hammer and I knew absolutely nothing about the inside of a functioning business. So I really started to do my homework and I actually landed at this time. I found the School of Entrepreneurship, which was a school that Larry Janensky offered right here in Seymour, Connecticut. And I reached out to them. I think at the time the class was like $20,000. I didn't have that kind of money. And I'm like, I just don't think I'm going to be able to swing it. But I did. And it was the greatest thing, that ever happened to me. It really helped me build and scale, the business that we have today.
Something that I'm learning about roofing, the more roofers we talk to, is the structure can look really different.
Yeah.
There's storm chasing roofing there, which is like, seems to be insurance driven.
Mm-hmm.
There's like retail replacements, which is I'm parked here and we're going to do roofs here. There's contracted labor, there's W-2, there's 1099. Like, where do you fall with all? What's your model look like?
So we, obviously we have, 9 different roofing crews. But we use subcontractors, the model that we use. We have project managers that are in-house. So you sell a job, we go out to build the job. We have inside project managers that meet with our subcontractors. And their sole job is to make sure that the roof is being installed exactly to our specs and our standards. They're the liaison for the homeowner. And, our subcontracted crews, they don't work for anybody else. They've, I think our newest guy's been with us for over 6 years. We train them, we educate them. We pay a commission to our PMs. We pay a commission to our sales representatives. But the model inside of the company, I mean, it's a full functioning business to marketing team, GM, CFOs, appointment centers, collections, service department. We even have an auto body mechanic. As you can imagine, once your fleet gets up to a certain amount, it's very important that you keep those vehicles rolling.
Yeah.
So I would say
the 9 crews are all subcontracted.
Correct.
Okay. And how much revenue is Brown Roof doing today?
18.5. This year we'll probably
roofs
come right around 20 million.
That's a lot of roofs.
Is that
how much of this is?
Yeah, is that one location? Because you talked about it's Connecticut, but how big does that area span out, or is it storm chasing like John said?
So I was about to tap back into that. So our main focus is retail. We are not storm chasers. I would call us maybe a storm catcher because I don't want the chasers coming in. But we're retail. We sell to homeowners that either we've done roofs for them in the past or they found us online. And that's really the business that we like to do. Storm industry is getting a little squirrely with deductibles, and now deductibles went from 5,000 or 500 to 1,000 to now they're a percentage of the property's value. So we're finding that being a struggle now. Where, say out your way, right, in Ohio, you probably see hail every 4 years or so. People are spending $5,000-6,000 every few years to put a new roof on. I think people today are going to start steering more towards, local roofing contractors and people that are putting on a premium lifetime service with a company, that's going to be there when they need them the most. Not saying storm is ever going to go away, that model, but it's getting a lot harder for a storm chaser to get paid to run a good business, because the insurance companies, holding on to a massive chunk of their money at all times.
And so when you're looking at service area, how big does your service area expand to be able to generate that kind of revenue?
So the 20 million 18.5 that we did last year, we are Litchfield, Fairfield, New Haven counties. So I have Klaus Larson Roofing, who is one of my partners, and we kind of separate on the Connecticut River. But that money was generated here, in Connecticut, nothing to do with Klaus Roofing Systems.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's you gave counties, how far is that from your headquarters? Like hour and a half? Is that how far you're willing to go? Hour?
Yep, hour and a half, in there. If we can't service you, honestly, if you got a problem, if you got an emergency with a roof, if you can't get there ASAP, it could be a catastrophic problem. Commercial flat roof, they could take on a lot of water really quick.
Yeah. That was going to be one of my next questions is, how much of this is residential versus commercial?
We're probably 85% residential.
Okay.
Yeah, and the commercial jobs that we're doing are like long-term customers of ours that we've had for a really long time, condos,
Mhm.
property management companies.
What makes residential attractive? Well, yeah, what makes it attractive to you?
Well, you can control the pricing. Two, you could get paid every day. And
Mhm.
I love dealing with homeowners. I love dealing with local people. I like being on a different job every day. There's some excitement to that, opposed to commercial. You're there for 6 months or a few months. And there's always somebody else that you have to talk to or beg to get your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very true.
When you were, you bought the business 13 years ago now, a little bit. What were some of the big milestones that you can think of? As I think about my growth in our business, there's a couple big ones. We had some acquisitions. We moved headquarters. What were some big ones that helped you get to the next level?
Well, I was working out of a garage. When I first purchased the company, I had a building that I owned, so I moved everything over there. And then I realized, in order to start hiring good people, I wasn't going to be able to do it out of my garage, so I had to scale to a larger facility. And then I realized, once I got to 1 million, I said, all right, man, I can scale this, but I need good freaking people to help me scale this business. So I would say when I made the move, the light turned on. I still was grounding out by myself. We got to that $1 million mark and I said, all right, now we got to start bringing in some really great people, build an amazing foundation and start to scale the business. Probably 3 years into that move, I ended up moving into Seymour, Connecticut, into the industrial park.
Mm-hmm.
Brand started, taking off more. The marketing was really, really working. And that was when the company really just started to scale. It was like, all right, if we could do this, at 1 million, one crew, one salesman, we got a system, we got a process that works. Now let's start to, scale it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously it wasn't as easy as that. There's a lot of bumps and humps in the road.
Yeah. 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 What were some of the bumps and humps?
I think really understanding business, right? In order to set things straight, you got to see things straight. And if you can't see financials or understand financials, you'll never really understand the whole picture of the business. So I think really understanding, where we were. One of the biggest bumps was not knowing where I was going, what I was seeing, because I didn't have my financials where I needed them or the person that I needed to in my office. But I started to, with hiring these great people, right? I needed insurance. I needed benefits. I needed all these things. So I'm like, okay, that's easy. Move the pen, right? We'll just start it. But then I started to notice, right? My margins started to dip. Actually, I didn't know this because I didn't have a CFO at the time.
You noticed cash wasn't there.
I noticed cash wasn't there, a few times throughout this process, I've hit those speed bumps.
And was that clarity driven by the School of Entrepreneurship, or where did you get that clarity from that you decided, hey, I need these things?
It was the School of Entrepreneurship. It really was. And I think for any entrepreneur, right, or anybody that's new at a business, it's scary when you're looking at these, high dollar amount people.
Yeah.
And if I could remember when I hired the first person in the office, I said, I don't even know how I'm going to be able to afford this, but it worked. But the School of Entrepreneurship definitely opened my doors to how to run a successful business, how to hire a CFO, train a CFO, questions to ask, the onboarding process, things I did not know about. So if it wasn't for the School of Entrepreneurship, I definitely would have been looking a lot of other places, to try and figure out, how the inside of an operating business worked.
When you scaled the marketing side of the business, like how did that start?
So I actually joined the Treehouse Internet Group, which is a marketing group that kind of builds websites. Understanding ROI and return on investment, and watching lead flow and trying to run a business. It just got to the point where I'm like, I can't do all this stuff and like really
Mhm.
be good at it. So I realized, between maybe allocating money towards lead sources that really weren't producing like we needed them to, I said to myself, you know what, like we need somebody in house that can start to manage and really keep an eye on that whole process. And then over time, it's turned into, social media, all of our different platforms for leads,
Yeah.
conversion rates. We wouldn't be where we are if we didn't have, Kevin in the marketing department. Kevin's an amazing individual.
For
Mhm.
our listeners, at what size business were you when you hired this? I mean, I don't know if it was Kevin originally, but the marketing person, because I know that's a big question we get a lot is when do
All the
you
time.
bring that person on?
So I'd say I was probably at like that 1.5, 2 million area when I started to really look out into other avenues of marketing. Right around that time is when I realized I needed to get somebody in house, because I was actually losing money because I was just spending money on leads and had no real way of tracking them, rehashing them,
Yeah.
cross selling. And right at the end of the day, I think for all of us, I'm really good at roofing, man.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
You bring in a professional CFO, they're going to uncover ways to save, ways to find. You bring in a professional marketing guy, he knows things, that I really didn't know at that time. That really helped us, making sure we had an allowable cost per lead, what that was, a marketing budget, all these things to really focus on. And now in the beginning of the year, we kind of just make our business machine and our model, and I can almost predict exactly, where I'm going to be based on leads, based on average dollar per sale, based on closing ratio. I could paint the path to 20 million. I could paint the path to 50 million.
Mhm.
It's just
How much is how much is spent on marketing today?
1.4 million is our marketing budget for this year.
Mhm.
But we're
And what's the breakdown of that? Like how much of it's branded versus direct lead gen, or
probably
like what's it look
40% of that is branding, and probably another
like? Mhm.
60% is lead gen. And our branding is, we're on just about 7 different radio channels,
Yeah.
TV, mailbox. We wrap, I think, 8 city buses, fully 100% wrapped. Google, you name it. I don't think there's a platform we're not really on. So,
Yeah.
but branding is
Do you
huge.
feel Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel do you feel like a constraint yet on leads? I mean, 1.4 is a lot to put into a market. So I would assume that you are running out of places to spend on leads.
Yeah. So, I mean, traditionally, when we're selling, right, like the percentage of marketing spend might not be that much. But when you're in a slow time, right, like my marketing spend right now might be 13% on our balance sheet.
Mhm.
But that's due to not a lot of leads, right? We're
Yeah.
not getting a lot of leads, so the sales volume isn't up. But typically we spend like from anywhere from 6 to 8%,
Yeah.
of our money on the marketing.
But you feel like you could, one of your goals, it was to grow to 50. Do you feel like you can do 50? Like the market can take more dollars into advertising? Because
Oh,
for us, like that's a real concern. Our marketing budget this year is 2.2, and we haven't hit our cap yet, but we're not far off. There are only so many active leads in a market at a time. And at 1.4, you're going to be close. I mean, there's only so many roofs a year in Seymour, Connecticut that are going to get replaced.
yeah, we do a lot of, so our website, like we have people in here right now, widget masters, we call them, but they're constantly going to city pages. So like Cascab, right? How many roofs do we do in Cascab? But I could guarantee you, if you went to Cascab, you could read 50 blogs because we're constantly updating city pages. So organically, we're ranking. So, if you're looking for a local roofer, I'm going to pop up on every page in my area. You could go canvassing. There's so many ways, to create leads. But yeah, you're right. When the market's down, you could eat through stuff. I'm spending as much money now in marketing as I will in August. Because I just don't take my foot off the gas. My GM will tell you a different story. He's like, next year, I'm not doing this, bro. Next year we're slowing back in the slower months. But I was always just taught, when things are slow, unless you own 90% of your market share, right? Then I don't, at 20 million,
Yeah.
believe it or not, I don't have 10% of my market share. So the only way I see is to just keep your foot on the gas, man. If you're not there, you're definitely not going to get the roof. If you're there, at least you have an opportunity and a chance.
Yeah.
And that's why the branding, I think, right now is so big, is because, right, we've been in business for 53 years. People know of Brown Roofing. But at the end of the day, if keyword searches and intent is down, the only way to get in front of people is to get in front of them. And that's in the branding, highway signs, radio, mailers. So we switch it up, but really intent drives the bus.
What does competition look like in your area? You said you only own 10% of the market share. Is it a lot of small owners, or is there some big private equity back? What does that whole landscape look like?
Believe it or not, in my area, we're right in the Waterbury area. There's probably 20,000 roofing companies. I mean, we do have big competitors. DeGiorgi Roofing is a competitor that's been in business for 80 years, about 3 miles away from my building. We probably have 10, 15 really competitive, long-term roofing companies around us. I would say out of the 20,000, probably 90% of them have been in business for 2 years. Like
wow.
I can't tell you how many. Maybe it's the same in your area where you might have seen Feasel and Abel forever, right? And now you got 20,000 roofing companies, because just like private acquisition is seeing it, you don't need to be licensed to install a roof. You need to be licensed to sell a roof. You need to be licensed to be a company, but the people that work underneath you don't. So anybody chucking a truck can just go and really open a roofing business and start knocking doors tomorrow.
How has that changed the landscape of what you've been doing? I mean, I would say over the last, 36 years since you've started this, but really over the last, 2 to 5, as you started to see all these pop up.
I think it's all in the quality, man. People want a quality roofing system. People want people that are trained. People want a company that's gonna be there, So part of what we do is we're fortifying the roof decking, right? We're anybody could put a shingle on. It's what's done to the underside of the roof decking and what's put on that decking that really separates good from bad, right? And we build a roofing system where even if the shingles got ripped off your roof, we're still protecting the inside of your home, And I think, by offering quality products, it really opens the door for those people that are looking for quality, that are looking for, a roofing system that's going to last, and not a company that's going to be here today and gone tomorrow.
For your vision to grow to 50 million of revenue, is that out of one location for
Correct.
you? Is that how? Yeah. When do you think that happens? Like, what's your timeline?
I mean, I could hit 50 within the next 5 years easily.
What's the big like barriers that you see between where you're at and 50?
It's training and educating the teams to go out and build a quality roof every day like that. It's very, very difficult. One, on the project manager side, they are the guardians of happiness for us, to make sure that homeowner is in good spirits from start to finish. So training and getting the good crews too. It's taken us a long time to get to 9. We have amazing staff, amazing employees. So to make that happen overnight is impossible. So, but in a 5-year period, we can definitely make it happen.
With that current 9 crew status, I'm assuming there's a series of project managers that kind of go along with that. What do you view as the top capacity for your current situation, though? Before you have to go and train a whole nother crew and bring on more project managers, like where are you at right now?
So we're in the training process. We're constantly, so we're just coming out of winter. We just finished up a large sales training to add a couple more people onto our sales team. And as them new people start to generate, more sales, and we come to a 3 to 4 week backlog, it is a key indicator to pull down another crew and, get that process going. We are in the process of training another crew right now up in Windham. So really it's the systems and the processes that tell us, when it's time. So we go past that 3 week to 4 week backlog, depending on the time of the year. It's time to add another crew. If we're consistent to the 3 or 4 weeks and we can't get out of that, then we will obviously go into marketing and see what's happening out there in the universe, and if we can capture more, or if our intent is down, but we use all those things as gauges for when it's time to start that scaling process.
We're about 8 months into using Avoca, and Avoca's been an awesome partner for us in our call center. So what Avoca does for us is they do 2 different things. One, they have their Coach product, and Coach has been helping us do what it says. Coach our CSRs every single day. It listens to every call and uses AI technology to basically pick apart that call and tell us where we can improve. And for the last 8 months, we've been consistently improving our scores, which has been awesome. The other product they have is just conventional booking. And it's an AI tool that books over the phone. A customer calls in and it either handles overflow, as in our phones are full, or it does nights and weekends for us. And a customer will call in and actually deal with an AI agent all the way through booking. And the savings inside call center has allowed us to ramp up our marketing to continue to grow even more. Thank you, Avoca, and thank you, Tyson, for your partnership.
I would imagine that the business is high. We've kind of dug in on seasonality a little bit. I don't know the weather in your specific part of Connecticut all that well, but I would guess that it's a snowy environment at points in time. How seasonal does your business get? And then in the off season, do you just completely shut down, or what does that look like?
No. So unfortunately, right, to get good people, man, you got to keep them going.
Keep them going.
You got to keep them going. And, this part of the model, I'm sure a lot of people would say I could never be like that, but I make my money 9 months out of the year. I hang on to my team. We made it through this winter, and it was probably the slowest winter I've had in 5 years, and I kept 98% of my force. So when we hit the ground running in March, we're capitalizing right away, which, has hung true because leads opened up for us and we're out there, kicking butt. So
that's good to hear. Yeah.
How much? So is it 3 months that tend to be the slow months? What is that, January through March?
Yeah. And the last 5 years, though, honestly, it was like, I think ever since COVID, we really just, what was just got blown out of the waters, so you weren't seeing traditional numbers. We were doing 1.4, 1.5 million in January, February,
Yeah.
so now if I went back to 2019, that wasn't happening. We were, 600,000 consistently in them slow months.
So and what's a peak month? Like 2 million?
Oh yeah, we could sell 3 million. I mean, it's when the boom is on, it's on.
It's on. Yeah. That's a huge swing. Like 600 to 2.5, 3 million is a crazy swing.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's got to be a ride. I talked to a guy. He was interviewing for a position here, and he helped build I think they're $30 or $40 million power washing company, and they have like 15 locations. And they're headquartered like 10 minutes away from here. They started here like 20 years ago, and theirs was similar, but it's like 6-7 months out of the year. And so like right now it's March 15th or whatever it is today, and they're onboarding like 300 people right now to train for the next 30 days. And then those 300 people are going to start power washing houses. And then every single one of them's out of a job in like October.
Yeah.
And I think they said they only expect like half of them to make it a month.
Yeah. We see
it's crazy.
We Larry Janensky, one of my partners, actually bought a business called Bright Brothers, and Bright Brothers does roof cleaning or house cleaning, soft wash. But what they did, because Larry, once again, right, it's all in the people. We need really great people. They incorporated Christmas lights. And like so from that time, they go out, they hang Christmas lights, and that's becoming a really big thing around here. You didn't see it before. It'd be me and you hanging lights on our own house. Now they come in, they cut them to size, they keep them, and they come back and hang them up. Or you can even do it, based off of holidays. You could do green for St. Patty's Day, red for Valentine's.
Yeah.
Some people keep them all year.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems to be a thing that's blown up in popularity. I've seen it a lot on like TikTok, Facebook.
Yeah. It feels better coming from a roofing company though, where you have the PPE and the know-how to be on roofs. Because I posted a while back. I was taking pictures as I was driving through my neighborhood. It's a giant 2-story McMansion, and there's just some kids walking up on the roof with their van out front, probably unlicensed, uninsured. I'm going, that is an absolute nightmare as a business owner.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know how they're running it without having kind of the insurance that you would need for being a roofing company.
This is a dangerous trade. I think top 3 in the world. And things could go wrong quick, man. You got 20 tons of asphalt coming off of a roof. You could destroy properties, and then, like I said, some people, there's so many roofers out there. This price is 20,000. This price is 10,000. This one's 5,000. And we run around all day long and clean up other people's messes. So it's, they definitely got to be careful who they're looking for and who they get. And then once you do get them, you got to pray that, they're a good enough company to care about safety and protecting, the people. Because I'm sure you could drive around your area, you'll see those roofs going off. People aren't even harnessed up, they're just running around. And at the end of the day, somebody comes tumbling off that roof and dies, God forbid. It's coming back to the homeowner. Typically, right? Smaller companies only got so much coverage.
When you were probably, a couple years ago, when did you break 5 million? Do you remember what year that was?
Oof, that was probably 2019-ish, somewhere in there.
When was it you felt like you got a really good handle on like the systems and processes to scale?
I knew I had it at 1 million. I knew I was there. Now confidently today, I mean, I don't even have to. There's not really too much work for me other than telling somebody it's time to bring on another team, another salesperson. probably the real confidence that I got this, probably 2018, 2017, I really started to find my groove. Like I said, those bumps. Man, I tell you, I had times where I'm like, all right, I just need somebody. If they smile, if they look somewhat good, put them in the seat. That wasn't a winning strategy. So a lot of bumps, a lot of bumps along this journey. But I'm very
They're
confident.
hard.
Yeah. I mean, it's very
It's hard.
I don't think
Yeah, it's hard.
anybody understands the life of an entrepreneur. I leave here, you're always working. Your brain's always spinning. I don't think anybody feels the lows quite like you, or nobody really rides the highs quite like you either. But I still wouldn't have it any other way. I love what I do. I love the business. I love the people. I love scaling. I love being able to have the ability to do that.
Can you help? I don't know that we brought it up, but you brought up Klaus Roofing Systems, and I think how they've helped you, and you become a partner in that. Can you walk us through what that is and how it's helped?
Yeah. So really, this all stemmed from the School of Entrepreneurship. Me and Klaus Larson were actually involved with the School of Entrepreneurship, and the School of Entrepreneurship was really designed for basement systems. Larry Janensky's main baby is basement systems, which they're in probably every state throughout the country. We both graduated, and we both went out and were doing really well in our businesses. And I got a call one day from Larry, and he's like, "Hey man, you mind if I come down and check you guys out? I want to see how you're doing and what your business looks like and how the model's going." So I invited him and his team down to my facility in Waterbury at that time. And, he was just very interested in roofing, and kind of got a little personal. He's like, "Hey, you mind if I open up your checkbook?" I'm like, "No, Larry, I don't care." He's just a good man, and I trusted him. We hung out for that day. The next day he called me back and he's like, "Hey, let me ask you a question, Eddie. Would you partner with me?" And I'm like, "Partner with you?" I'm like, "Larry, why would you want anything to do with roofing?" He's like, "Eddie," he's like, "not every home has a basement." He's like, "but every home's got a roof." He said,
That's a good point.
I like this guy.
I do.
yeah.
I like where that went.
Every home also has a sewer. I'm just throwing that out there. Everybody shits.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But I think what happened there was we all connected, and we realized that there was such a void in the roofing industry between quality and crap work, and the products and the materials.
Yeah.
So we went through really all of our competitors and the best products that they had. We went into manufacturing. We had our own ice and water shield made, our own synthetic felts made to a higher standard. And, that's really where it all started. Larry obviously had the national presence. So it was very easy for us to, reach out to, I'm trying to think of one of our basement companies in Ohio, but we reached out to them and basically started to build companies right outside of these other companies that already knew the systems between marketing and advertising, and it just really helped us scale. And now what we do is we reach out to roofing companies that are kind of having that hard time getting above that 1 million area, and we really show them a system and help them scale just like we did.
And I think before we got on air, you talked a little bit about the training facility that you guys have. We should, whoever's editing this should add some photos, because it sounds cool as hell.
It sounds really awesome.
Oh, it is wild. We have a 450 person arena, where we do live trainings. We have the warehouse facility where we have buildings actually built inside of the building, low slope, steep slope, turrets, you name it, it's there.
Yeah. And that's to train roofing. So, before on camera, you were describing how they were waist high roofs to bring people in to help train installers. And
Yep.
it was 65,000 square feet. Was that right?
Yep. 65,000 square feet. And we, it's super safe, to just go in with a service guy and, see how he puts on, shingles or metal. When you're getting into chimneys and really technical, detailed flashing. But at the end of the day, right, this is the stuff that truly separates us from everybody else. You could be a GAF Master Elite. I'd love to see their training facility that they're taking you to and teaching you, how to become, who you want to be.
What do you think the next couple of years holds for you?
I think it holds a lot for me and my company and my people. We're focused on being the leader in the industry. We're focused on our people. I think if you help enough people in this life get what they want, in the end, you'll get what you want. So just a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun, living the dream. I'm a big hiker, so hiking is a big part of my life. But scaling, man, it's what we do. It's what we're going to do. It's what we're going to continue to do. Monitor the numbers and make sure we're healthy and just keep going.
For either people getting into this industry that are new, or maybe someone that's thinking about starting up, just like all the other ones in the last 2 years, do you have any advice for them? What should they do right now that will help them be successful in the next?
If I could have did one thing in the beginning, it would have been hired a CFO to keep their eyes on the books. And, like I said, in order to set things straight, you got to see things straight. And if I could have seen things straight from the beginning, I would have steered clear from a lot of negative waters. I would have made sound decisions because I had the evidence to back them up. So hiring somebody on the financial side is going to keep you out of a lot of trouble right away.
Yeah, that's a lesson that I've learned too many times too. I think I'm on 5 times now. So you learned it faster than me.
Well, I hope it wasn't as painful.
It probably was.
I was going to say, no, it definitely was. We've just rounded that corner, and the last 6 months have been absolutely full of pain.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, man, when you got it dialed in and you got your margins dialed in, there's nothing better. There
Feels
really
good.
isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. You brought up training being one of the big barriers between now and 50 million. Do you feel like the investments that Klaus has made and you guys have made in the training facility, do you think that solves it, or is there additional investment that you're going to be thinking about?
Oh, technology is changing so much. AI, you name it. I can tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep up with the times. We're gonna keep up with all these new things that are coming in. And the training will never stop. It's something that we believe in wholeheartedly. Building codes are constantly changing. You need to be out there in the forefront, a trendsetter, and training and educating is something that we hold close to the heart, and it's what will help us get to that 50 million and beyond.
What is a big misconception about roofing that people outside of it just don't understand?
The difference between chucking a truck and a legitimate company. I think a lot of people are sticker shocked with the price tag of a roof, and a lot of people that are just starting out really don't know how to price them properly, know how to bid them right. So just really understanding the difference between a reputable company and somebody that's just starting up, and not saying that people that are just starting up aren't good or reputable. There's just a lot more risk.
Yeah.
And a roof isn't something that you really want to do twice.
I think that transcends to most home service businesses. Actually, you sometimes get what you pay for more often than not. And when trusting your plumbing, your very expensive HVAC system, or your extremely expensive roof to somebody, making sure that they're reputable, licensed, insured is absolutely huge.
Definitely. Reviews. We have, I think in our area here, we have like 830-ish reviews. We're 4.8 stars, so looking at those things, right? When you see a roofing contractor that's a 4.5 with 30 reviews, just doing your research, obviously we're doing something right, or we wouldn't have such a high rating with so many reviews. So things like that to look into.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story. This was a lot of fun. I feel like I got to know roofing even a little bit more, and I'm looking forward to following along and tracking when you guys hit 50. We'll have to have you back.
Yeah, when
on.
Eddie hits 50, he's coming back.
I'd love to be on before that, man. But definitely thank you guys for having me. I truly appreciate you allowing me to share my story.
All right, thank you. If for the listeners out there, if you like what you heard, make sure you give us a 5-star wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. And thanks for tuning in.